Hi everyone, welcome. What you see here is the foods that I was going to feed today. This is just potato peels and a few stale crackers. This was what I was going to give the African nightcrawlers that live down in this system as they're feeding today. It's been 2 weeks, 14 days since we last checked in on them. And I've also got a variety of newspaper bits scattered out across the top. I figured we could replace whatever's there now with this new one. And we would kind of recycle all of the top covering newspaper that's in here now and kind of repurpose it to be just bedding, foundational bedding to go in underneath all those potato peels. So the bubble wrap is meant to just prevent evaporation from occurring so much that the system starts to get really dry on the top surface. I mean, certain things out near the edge where the plastic wasn't covering it have gone pretty dry. So, you know, a piece of tough, dry cardboard like this is not going to be of much interest to the wormies. So like right here next to where that thing was are a couple pieces of cardboard that are quite damp actually. So just an inch this way or that way. If something just doesn't happen to get covered properly by the plastic, then it might just get subject to being a little bit overly dry for a while until we can get it back down into the action. So let's take a quick peek down into the feeding area. From what I remember, they got just a variety of different kitchen scraps fed to them. So after a couple weeks, I'm wondering how they might have done working down their last feeding. This system's now 50 days old as of today. So yesterday it was 7 weeks old. And today's feeding is going to be feeding number 5. These little guys were just recently upgraded into this slightly larger container. So they'd been living in a slightly smaller green tray that I use pretty frequently around here. You might know which one I'm referring to. And man, look at all these springtails. Those, because we weren't quite sure about the actual size of the population, we went into the whole positioning them in that smaller container originally on the assumption that we didn't have too many worms that we had managed to extract out of their harvested castings. These were kind of like stragglers left behinds from the main haul outs that were done, which ended up with a kind of an unhappy ending where the worms that got hauled out originally in large numbers all died off, and then what was remaining were only these little guys, the leftover population of stragglers who didn't, to their good fortune, get hauled out when the rest of their friends and neighbors and everybody else got hauled out to start off a couple new systems that were going to end up crashing and burning. These were the lucky survivors, I guess we referred to them at one point. But, you know, that's all kind of looking back and a little bit unfortunate, but things do sometimes happen. And I'm only thankful that I can look down into this tray and see just how many little guys actually survived the terrible ordeal that their friends and relatives all had to endure. So it's always kind of a bummer when you think of it that way. So, I mean, that little bit of bedding we just threw in there, the kind of the recycled stuff, you know what, I think we're going to be okay with that. We'll just allow the system to ride on what existing bedding is already in here, because it's only 50 days old and there's plenty of bedding in this system. I think even last time too, the foundational bedding that went in beneath the foods that they were given were all bedding bits that had been scavenged after kind of just inspecting the system and bumping into a few large pieces of leftover original bedding that had made up the construction of this system. And now here, since they're getting a nice replacement top covering, we just repurpose their old top covering newspaper fragments and give them a much greater chance at seeing a whole lot of worm action right down amongst the freshly added food that they're getting. So, I don't know. We kind of excavated straight down the middle into where we knew we wanted to feed. I don't think we really had a chance to see what's happening out in the outskirts. So before we pack things up here, why don't we just take a quick peek? No reason to think we're going to find anything but a bunch of happy and healthy wormies. And things look good. Still a good many springtails, keeping our little worm friends company. I guess I'm not a big fan of having springtails, at least in these numbers. Down in my systems, I would generally prefer to see fewer springtails, but I'm not going to complain. I'm just happy that we were able to get these African nightcrawlers kicking again, and I do believe we have a nice sized population for a system this size. I think next time we come in here we will probably be supplementing bedding though going forward, continuing to give them a supply of some fresh stuff, but everywhere I go in this system I'm just excavating large chunks of cardboard, paper, all kinds of stuff that made the system up originally not all that long ago, so I think from a bedding perspective they're a-okay with what they've got, and a little bit extra that they got with those recycled top coverings. So, you know, I already put the food in, and I did want to give them a little bit of grit, so why don't we present it to them just sort of as a top coating, and we'll try to attract their attention to it by also sprinkling in some of my worm chow. I guess I shouldn't go too close to the edges because this stuff just sits out here uncovered by the plastic. It'll not really see a lot of action, so definitely want to see the worms come up for that worm chow and make good use of it and gobble it all up. So that's what it's there for. Let's hope they appreciate it. Let's get things here covered back up and put away. I guess that's the end of our quick check-in with the African nightcrawlers, getting feeding number 5 on day 50. And if you ask me, I think they were ready for it. And I'm ready for a quick trip to the sink because I've gotten myself a little bit messy. I'm not going to keep you around for that. That's boring. Before I go there really quick, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. Why do I even wear a glove if I'm going to let myself get this messy? Alright everyone, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye now.